right, Math 12A, I want to talk a little bit about kind of where we're headed and what the next few weeks are going to look like. I'm kind of giving every class just a heads up on where my brain is and what I'm thinking and that kind of thing. I don't like things to be a surprise for anybody, including me. We have just finished most of chapter 8. We only have 2 sections left in chapter 8. They won't take us long at all. And then we only have chapter 9 left to do. Now, chapter 9 very often takes a significant portion of time. That's because chapter 9 is on personal finance, and when we're all together as a group, we tend to have a lot of discussion classes where I let you guys ask me questions and I answer them. Unfortunately, we're not in that scenario, so we might actually get through chapter 9 a little faster than we normally do. I probably will do a couple of Zoom meetings though, just so that if you do have, like, if I'm talking about credit cards or something and you go, hey, I always wondered about, you can actually ask those questions. Because I'm always amazed. Sometimes you guys know way more than I think you're gonna know, but sometimes some of you, just because you haven't dealt with a lot of financial stuff yet, don't know a whole lot about it. And so sometimes there's some things that I can tell you that, who knows, might actually come in handy later on when you're paying your bills. Usually in chapter 9, I give you a project where I assign you a job. You don't get to pick it because life's not like that. I assign you a job. You have to research what the average pay is. You have to figure out what the taxes would be on that, and then you have to make a budget to live. If we have time, we'll do that. If we don't, then that might be one of the things that has to be cut. Unfortunately, I don't like that, but it might just be what it is. Because we need to have time to do a year-end assignment because we don't have exams. So we're gonna have a year-end assignment that's gonna cover everything from February, I guess, from February until now. So last half of chapter 5 to hopefully the end of chapter 9. This takes the place of an exam because we won't be doing exams. So this takes the place of an exam. So it is going to be important for you to really do your best on it. Ask questions if you need to ask questions. I'm going to try and make some review videos about some of the stuff we did earlier in the year to kind of help jog your memory a little bit. So anything that there isn't already a video out there for, I will probably go back and review. Anything I have done a video for, well, you can go back and look at those videos, right? But anything we haven't done a video for, I will try and do at least a short review video talking about that so that you can go back and look at that. But I want you to have time to do well on that. I will give it to you probably even before we finish chapter 9. I'll give that to you so that you have plenty of time to be working on it. My plan is I would like to finish chapter 9 at least a week and a half before June 5th to give you a solid week and a half to just focus on that assignment, where I don't give you any new work. I just give you that. If you run into problems, you can contact me and we can talk through your problem. We can try and problem solve some of those things. I can make, we can either talk by Zoom or I can answer online or I can make a video or whatever we need to do. But I want to give you some time to really focus in on that. So that's kind of where I'm headed. So just so you know where my brain is. We'll see how chapter 9 goes. We'll see what happens with that, and we'll see how long this takes us to get through. Friday, we have a day off, so yay. So today what I want to do is I want to start into section 8.5. Now the reason I left this and we do a test before is because right now they're actually going to combine 2 concepts, and I wanted to Be sure that you had a handle on those other concepts before we combine them. So what they're talking about in section 8.5 is they're talking about the intersection, so the crossing of lines and circles. So if you have a circle and you have a line, them crossing one another, that's what it's talking about. And we're going to talk about 3 different situations. Today we are going to cover 2 of them. And then the next day we will cover the last one. So there are going to be 3 types of questions in section 8.5, and there's going to be 3 types of questions in section 8.6. So on the test, there will be 6 different types of questions I could ask you. I break it down that way. All right, so question type number 1 is like example 1 on page 484. There's a spider on my ceiling and I'm freaking out just a little bit. So if you see me keep glancing at the ceiling, it's because I'm afraid it's going to come and eat my face off. All right. Example number 1 on page 484 says this. It says, find the coordinates of the point of intersection of the line y is equal to x minus 1 and the circle x squared plus y squared is equal to 25. So again, let's talk about what that looks like and what that means. It actually gives you in the textbook 2 different ways to solve this. One of them is to solve it graphically, and one of them is to solve it mathematically, or what they call algebraically. I've never seen anyone choose to do it graphically, but I suppose you could. I am going to draw a picture of it though, just to give you an idea so that hopefully you can picture what's going on in your head. So what they're asking is they're saying if you have a circle, x squared plus y squared is equal to 25. That actually means that the center of the circle is 0 and 0, because remember the form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, and h and k are the center of your circle. Well, since there is no h and k, the center is at 0 and 0. 25 is my r squared, which means my radius is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so on. And so the circle would look something like that. All right, and the line y is equal to x minus 1. So the y-intercept, the y-intercept is at -1, and the slope is 1 over 1, so up 1 over 1. So here's the line. The question is, where does that line go through the edge of the circle? And just by drawing it, I can see that I should have 2 different answers, because there are 2 places where the line crosses through the circle. These are points of intersection. Again, think back to chapter 1. When we had 2 lines that were crossing and we wanted to find where those 2 lines crossed, we called that solving a system of linear equations. That's what this is going to be. And we talked about 3 different ways to solve it. One of them was to solve it graphically. So is this. If I did this perfectly, if I graphed this circle and made it a perfect circle, and I put the line exactly where it needed to be on graph paper, I should theoretically be able to figure out exactly where those points are. But what if those points are like 2.34 and 6.95? I'm never going to get that off of a graph. The other 2 ways that we solved a system of linear equations was by substitution or elimination. That's solving it algebraically. We're going to use substitution because we really can't, because in this I have a y and I have a y squared. I really can't eliminate a y and I really can't eliminate an x. So substitution is what I'm left with. But if y is x minus 1, y is x minus 1. Y is the same as, it is equal to x minus 1. I can actually take this circle equation x squared plus, and instead of putting y squared, y is x minus 1. So I can put x minus 1 squared. So instead of putting y squared, I put x minus 1 squared. Sorry, it's getting closer to me, is equal to 25. Oh, just a sec. Freaking out ever so much. Chris?
Yes.
There's a spider. Okay. He's coming to kill the spider because it's coming to
Where?
eat me. It's right above my head. All right. So I'm going to try and continue and keep my calm. So this would be x squared, x minus 1 squared. Don't tell me that that is x squared plus 1. Remember, this is x minus 1 times x minus 1. So you have to do FOIL. He's trying to get it without getting in the screen. Oh, whoa. Okay, he's got it. I'm happier now. All right, so in case you didn't know, I have slight phobia. Okay, so x minus 1 times x minus 1 would be x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 25. So I have x squared plus x squared, that is 2x squared, minus 2x. And if I bring this over here, 1 take away 25 would be minus 24 is equal to 0. At this point, you could try and factor it, or you could do the quadratic equation, either one. Personally, I would go, I could take a 2 out of there, and I would have x squared minus x minus 12 is equal to 0. I'm going to go over here. So that would factor, x squared would be x and x. 4 and 3 would multiply to give me 12, and if it's negative 4 plus 3, that will give me the negative 1. And so either x minus 4 equals 0, which means x is 4, or x plus 3 equals 0, which means x is negative 3. Now, does that make sense with the picture I drew? First, it says x could be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that does kind of make sense. Or x could be negative 3. Again, does not make sense with my graph. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, kind of does. So my x is negative 3. Now I need to figure out what my y value would be. I can either take that x value, put it back into here, or put it back into here. It doesn't matter. This one seems easier to me. So I would do y is equal to 4 minus 1. So y is equal to 3. So if my x is 4, my y is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That does seem to make sense. What if my x is negative 3? Well, then I would have y is negative 3 minus 1, which would be negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that does seem to kind of make sense. So those are the two places where the line goes through the circle. Do I need the picture? No. Did it help me? Yes. All right. So do you have to draw it? No, you don't have to draw it. If it helps you, draw it. Okay? It helps me. I do it every single time just because I'm like that. Okay. So that's type 1. That is the question type 1, where they give you a line equation and a circle equation, and they say, where do the two cross? What is their points of intersection? We're skipping example 2 and example 3 because I don't like them, because they're a lot of theory stuff, and I can explain the theory a whole lot better. Like, I find the way they do stuff is confusing. So we're going to go right to example 4. So this is question type 2. So question 1, if they give you a line and a circle, and they say, where does the line intersect the circle? That's when you do the whole substitution thing. All right. Example 4 is called the equation of a tangent. which sounds yucky but is not that bad. All right? So the way that this question will sound, a question like this will sound like this. Find the equation of a tangent, see those words, equation of a tangent. Find the equation of a tangent to the circle x squared plus y squared is equal to 25 at the point 3 and 4. So let me explain what they're asking. Again, if I have a circle, and in this circle, the center is going to be 0 and 0. The radius is going to be 5. So you're going to have a circle just like in the last one. That is not a good circle, but pretend, okay? Now they're saying find an equation of a tangent at the point 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So right at this point, at 3 and 4, if I draw a tangent line, and remember that a tangent line is a line that touches the edge of the circle in just one spot. So in this case, if I were to draw a tangent line at this point, it would look like this. So what they're asking me is, what's the equation of that line? What's the equation of the line? We know the equation of the circle, but what is the equation that represents this line? Anytime you are trying to find the equation of a line, you are going to have to do y minus y1 is equal to slope times x minus x1. Anytime you're trying to find the equation of a line, you're going to be using that. This is my x1 and my y1. So I can already put y minus 4 and I can put x minus 3. What I'm missing is the slope. What I'm missing is the slope. I don't have any information about that slope. So here's what you do. You know the center of the circle is 0 and 0. If I draw a line from the center of the circle out to this point, that's actually a radius, right? That's a radius because that's going from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. Now, back in chapter 7, one of the theorems that you learned said the radius of a circle and the tangent line to a circle are always perpendicular to one another. They have to be. That's a theorem. It doesn't go away just because we're done chapter 7. All right, so I know that whatever the slope of this line is, the slope of this line has to be the negative reciprocal because perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes of one another. So if I can figure out the slope of this line, then I know the slope of this line. The formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if we continue with the idea that this is an x1 and a y1, the other end of this radius line, the other end is this one, we'll call this x2 and y2. So I can figure out the slope of that radius line because I can do y2, which is 0, minus y1, which is 4, over x2, which is 0, minus x1, which is 3. So I end up with 4 over 3 because a negative over a negative is going to make a positive. So then what is the slope of this tangent line? It is the negative reciprocal. So I'm going to flip that over to be 3 over 4, and I'm going to change the sign to be negative. So now this is y minus 4 is equal to negative 3 over 4x plus 9 over 4. If I move this over here, I have y is equal to negative 3 over 4x, and 9 over 4 plus 4 would be 16, and 9 would be 25 over 4. Okay, this is in the form y is equal to mx plus b. I am happy here. I am happy here. However, the back of the book not going to give you this answer. This is y is equal to mx plus b form. Another term that they use for that is standard form. Standard form is what we want it in when we draw the line, because it's easy to draw the line. I know where the y-intercept is, I know what the slope is, I can draw the line easily from there. But there's another form that is called general form. General form puts everything on one side, has the x first, then the y, then the constant, has no decimals in it, and the x, the first thing, is never allowed to be negative. So to change it over, it's actually not hard. It's not hard, okay? So to change it over, I would actually move this over here and move this over here. So I would have 3 over 4x plus y minus 25 over 4 is equal to 0. General form is always equal to 0, and it goes x, y, constant. All right, and so all I did was move everything over. Now, the only thing is that in general form, first off, the x has to be positive, but there can be no fractions and no decimals in general form. And I have fractions here, but it's easy to get rid of. Don't freak out. Notice that the denominator is 4. If I multiply this by 4, my 4's cancel and I have 3x. But whatever I do to one thing, I have to do to everything, right? So I'm going to multiply this by 4, which is going to give me 4y. And if I multiply this by 4, my 4's cancel and I have minus 25. And if I multiply this by 4, I have 0 times 4, which is 0. This is general form. Again, on a test, I'm happy here. I'm not fussy, okay? But if you're trying to check your answer at the back of the book and they have this and you have this, you won't necessarily know if you're right or not, and you'll go, why are they doing that? Well, it's because they're putting it in general form. This is y is equal to mx plus b form, otherwise known as standard form. And so they've just gone here. What I don't like is the textbook is inconsistent. Sometimes they'll leave it here and sometimes they'll do this, which is why I am not fussy and let you leave it here on a test, okay? So there is one more type of question, but I'm actually going to leave it until tomorrow. I'm just going to do those 2 types. So 2 types of questions in this section so far. There's going to be a total of 3. So first one is they give you the equation of the circle, the equation of the line. You use substitution to figure out where the line crosses through the circle. Second type of question is finding the equation of the tangent. That is where you use y minus y1 is equal to slope times x minus x1. You'll be given your x1 and your y1. You need to figure out the slope of the radius line because the slope of the tangent line is going to be the negative reciprocal. Okay? That's it for today. I'm going to give you some practice questions to try, and that's all you're doing today. All right? So talk to you soon.